Chronicles TV on air. We are now live in 3, 2, 1.
It's over. That was some trial. We're gonna see more in the next 2 episodes. A very longer one. 24th October, 4:33 p.m. The Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Professor, what a splendid outcome, isn't it? Oh, it is. Congratulations, Professor Hairbrain. Mr. Naruhodo, Mrs. Sato, I am truly beside myself with gratitude. How can I ever thank you enough? I'm just glad it's all cleared up. Now you realize you were just caught up in a bad situation. Right now, you know, if I had that research grant money, I'd give the whole lot to you, every penny. Well, that's very kind, but I'm just a student, so we don't need any financial reward. Your equator is more than enough. Oh dear, oh what can I do? Aha! How about this? A memento, a paper about my hypothesis inside. Well, just as a memento then, thank you. I've been wondering, Professor, what are you going to do now? Oh my, yes. What am I going to do? My hypothesis and my great machine lie in ruins. But still, it's been too long since I was last in London, so perhaps I'll enjoy some sightseeing. I must explore the great exhibition while I'm here too, and see if my new inspiration hits me. Oh yes, that's a wonderful idea. I can allow that? Lord Von Zykes? What are you doing in here? Barack. I'm sorry you had to go through that, Albert. Well, if I had to be honest, it was terrifying. You were like a great demon behind your bench there, starting down on your prey. You're one of the few true friends I have. I couldn't leave it to anybody else to handle the prosecution or the defense. Sorry? Or the defense? Did I just hear that right? I always knew that you had my best interest at heart. Don't worry. How about you show me around while I'm here in town? It's been a long time since we left university. We had a lot to catch up on. Listen, Albert. In a few days, your acquittal will be made official. When that happens, you must head straight to Dover. I'll accompany you. What? From there, you'll cross the channel and make your way back to Germany. I've already purchased the tickets. But no! Hold on a minute, Barack. What about the great exhibition? This is the chance of a lifetime for me. I want to look around. No sightseeing, Albert. Give up on the idea. Sometimes it's hard to see any warmth in those eyes, Barack. Barrick, there you go. Lord Von Zykes? I've been mispronouncing his name the entire time. It's Barrick, no? What's all this about? A necessary precaution. Yes, I think I understand. The Reaper! Well, Iris told me that when you met Lord Von Zykes at the office some days ago, he asked how Mr. Natsume was doing. Yes, that's right. I remember being surprised at the time and thinking it was nice of him to ask. The point is, Mr. Natsume is still alive and well. Even though it's been more than 6 months now since he stood trial with the Reaper as the prosecutor. Ah, you mean the Reaper's influence doesn't stretch overseas. Those in the Reaper's sights meet their ends days or sometimes months after their acquittal. That's been the pattern up to now. But of course, we know that both Mr. Natsume and Gina were completely innocent. True, and perhaps that governs the Reaper's actions. The truly innocent are spared. But I don't want to take any chances with a close personal friend. Barrick! Like the mustached Nipponese, this man should leave the country without delay. That's why I'm packing him off to Germany at once. Right! Does your friend-shaped package get any say in it? Goodness, what's this your intention all along then, Lord Von Zykes? In court, where people think of him as the Reaper, this man seems absolutely merciless. And yet, sometimes I feel as though I don't understand him at all. It's time to go, Albert. Back to prison for the time being. Ah, yes, alright. Well then, Mr. Naruto? Thank you so much for everything. Not at all, Professor. It was a pleasure getting to know you. Best wishes, Professor Hairbrain. Well, once the dust has settled, you must come and visit me in Germany. Anyway, goodbye for now. Now, my Nipponese friend. Oh, yes? I thought you gone too. We have matters to discuss. Can you spare some time? You want me to talk with me? You want to talk with me? I'll be waiting in the courtroom in 10 minutes. Well, that was strange. For some reason, I didn't get that sense of impending doom as he walked away this time. Fast forward to 10 minutes. The Enigma, Barrack von Zykes. What does he want to discuss, I wonder? The answer awaits in the courtroom, I suppose. Here goes then. Can we unveil who was behind the mask? So, are you satisfied? You save a guileless scientist from a great injustice. Yes, I think so. I'm relieved at least that man's innocence could be proven. Anyway, I imagine you've been wondering where my animosity towards you Nipponese comes from. Animosity? Why do you have to use those things? Well, at first I thought you just didn't like me. I imagine you saw me as a pretentious child from an unimportant land who had no business being here. But now I think differently. You clearly know our ways, so I would guess that some specific incident led to your thorough dislike of my race. Racist! Will you tell me what happened, please? The Professor. I thought I'd never hear that name in this courtroom again, to be honest. He took your brother's life. Clint, my brother, was Clint von Zykes. 16 years ago, when I was still just in my teens, he was already the director of the prosecution and a key member of the judiciary. I look up to him. He was everything I aspired to be. He was involved in the establishment of justice systems in foreign countries as well. There were exchange programs between Britain and other nations then too, to share knowledge and ideas. As part of those programs, 3 judicial students came to Britain from your homeland, the Empire of Japan. Oh, if it was 16 years ago, then one of them could have been my father. Of course. I remember Dr. Miko Tobo well. I had no idea. I was a minor at the time, training at the prosecutor's office. One day, Clint introduced me to the 3 visiting Nipponese. So you've actually met my father? He and his colleagues were polite and amicable. They were adept at their work and exacting in their standards. It was my first encounter with the Nipponese spirit, and it made a very great impression upon me. But 6 years later, that's when it happened. The investigation was going nowhere. There were no suspects even. Just an ever-growing list of victims. And in the end, my brother became one of them. The last, in fact, before the case was finally resolved. I'm sorry, Lord Von Zykes. Truly. Clint was always ready to put his life on the line for justice anyway, so he wouldn't have wanted it any other way. He lost his life to the killer, but it was his victory in the end. For me personally, though, it was a great loss. I found myself in a very dark place indeed. When I finally found out the killer's identity, the reason why no one had been able to catch the man sooner ceased to be such a mystery. He'd been hiding in plain sight all the time. In plain sight? Are you aware of political events 10 years ago? It was a period of extremely sensitive diplomacy between the British and Japanese empires. A new treaty was being forged, I think. Correct. The Anglo-Japanese Treaty of Friendship and Navigation was being concluded. The leaders of both countries were deep in extensive political discussions, which is why this particular killer's appearance in court was conducted as a close trial. If the British public had known the identity of the killer, not only would the treaty have been in jeopardy, but our two nations could have been end up at war. What? A war between Britain and Japan? But that would mean... You mean to say the professor was... Japanese? Can we open up the damn thing?
When the trial reached its conclusion earlier, I thought to myself, yes, it's time. Time for you to come face to face with this hideous monster. I borrowed the key for the mask from the proprietress of the Waxwork Museum. So see for yourselves now. Confirm it with your own eyes. The truth that's been hidden this past decade.
That's the professor?
Yes, that's him.
Until now, the thought never even crossed my mind. That the mass murderer, whose crimes shook Britain as never before, was Japanese.
Wait a minute. That face. I feel as though I've seen it somewhere. It's strangely familiar.
Father. What? Father? Kazuma! My best friend, Kazuma Asogi. After a whole year, finally his memories returned. As he stood there before me, Ryunosuke. Hello again. My friend.
Kazuma-sama!
Judicial Assistant Mikotoba.
It's been a very long road. Thank you. Thank you for guiding my friend here when I could not.
It was an honor.
I knew you wouldn't die that easily, Kazuma.
I owe you thanks, too, for taking good care of that in my absence.
Oh. Karuma, the great blade of the Asogi clan, passed down through the generations. When we left Japan, this sword was at my friend's side. A Japanese man's katana is his soul, he couldn't be parted from it. But then, when the incident happened, it was Susato-san's wish that I inherit the sword. And I've kept it with me ever since, along with my memories of the friendship we shared. With this by my side, I always felt that you were watching over me somehow.
I've made it. At last. Father.
Are you saying... Surely not. You mean, you knew all this time? I'm looking at it, but I still can't believe it. This mass murderer is Kazuma's father.
Kazuma-sama.
Ryunosuke, we have much to talk about, but now is not the time. I'll be seeing you.
That's all Kazuma said. Before he turned and left us there, in the courtroom.
So he's the living wrong voice. So he's the living afterman to the man who took my brother's life, is he? Yeah, Kazuma Asogi, my best friend. 3 months ago, when Lord Strongheart introduced us, I had an inkling there was something there, some connection. But why did Lord Strongheart do that? Why did he make Kazuma Lord Von Sykes' apprentice? And when he was suffering amnesia too? The man was apprehended, even executed, but his legacy just won't die. That's the sad truth. Anyway, that's all I had to say. I thank you for meeting with me as I ask. Just know Manitosa will be mad that her freaking exhibit is cut up in half. 10 years ago, my grandmother took me to the railway station. We were there to meet my father from the train. For me, it was the first time I ever seen him. Poor Susato. All this tied up with painful memories for her too. She's never stopped talk about with this me before. I said stalk. It took time to adjust having father around, but just when I was starting to get used to it, he called me into his study one day. He told me that a great friend of his had passed away in London, and that the friend had left behind a son, a boy 7 years my senior. Father told me the boy had made a promise to his late father. So he was studying to become a defense lawyer. I wanted to help, so I studied to become a qualified judicial assistant. As I'm sure you've worked out, that young man's name was Kazuma Asogi. So you see, that's how he and I met.
For a brief moment, my great friend had returned, only to disappear again all too soon. But in that fleeting encounter, something stirred. Something that had been dormant for a long time. as if great wheels had been set in motion. I could almost hear them creaking into life. In some ways, it was the end of a chapter, but in many, it was the start of a new one.
Like, comment, subscribe, Chronicles TV, and I'm signing out.